There we go. So welcome back to Listing Conversion, and thanks for coming, guys. I got Mel K to keep us rolling with ideas and tips that she uses up where we left off, just a little if you weren't here for part one. So be sure to have a process and a strategy for your listing process. Be sure to track any indicators for success. Don't have a presentation, but rather a conversation. Accept those beliefs within this course. Remember that you want to engage, deliver message to gain agreement. So you want to convey three things: that not all agents behave the same, that you must find and have specific roles and expectations. Some key things that came from Mel on the patience with landing with an agent is short. Be aware that people are kind of watching you while you even pull up to a property. Mel gave a great example of her showing up to a condo complex and the other wanted that client to sell as a for sale by owner. But when Mel got in there, the client stated utilizes a listing packet or a listing booklet. Within that, she has every form. So like if she gets hit with something, she has it, can grab it, and it's ready to go. Also be honest. If you don't know an answer or don't know what to say, tell them that you're going to go research it if you need to. But when you say that, also try to handle, the rest that's at hand before you go forward. And that way they know that you are human, but you're going we talked about the pre-conversation activities. Mel said that she had a form for that too, and she treats it kind of like a doctor's office. That way you don't miss what questions you want to ask, and you can also get the answers that you're kind of looking for. Mel says that she utilizes it, and then the next meeting will be more of like pricing. Hint, this Thursday we are having our pricing class. So again, it kind of with how the conversation would go anyway. Is there enough information in case the client asks for some pricing? Mel said that she has it, but it's kind of like out of sight and only utilizes it when she needs it. And then finally, some common needs that are happening right now are, discussed to kind of alleviate any objections there, or tell them that it is kind of a higher possibility to have right now in our market. Also, the property may not appraise the way that they want. So talking about how appraisals work and things to expect with appraisals. Also like moving. I mean, even it also kind of shows that, she's knowledgeable, or if you're doing it, you're knowledgeable from that first class. But let's pick up with covering a little bit more of expectations and getting into kind of that hard part of the conversation. So Mel, after you agreed on a price and that price kind of satisfies their needs, the book says to cover those mutual expectations kind of at that point. Why are covering those expectations important?
Well, when you're covering the expectations with them, you're trying to figure out what could be a stumbling block. For instance, I always ask them, what is your ultimate goal? Because there's different things with a full-time home and a second home, and we have both those markets here. So, if they tell me the objective is for a full-time home, listen, we have got to get to our other school district in time or our other town before school starts. Well, then it's not just about money, it's about timing. So that way we can price it maybe strategically differently in this case than, say, if you had 6 months to sell it. So what are the hot spots for them? Because it's not always price. Some agents always think, okay, I've got to get them the max. But if timing is even more important, it's a different conversation. But if you don't ask the questions, you won't know. And you don't want to get into a stumbling block. Like if you have a new home being built, but it's not going to be done until September. Well, then we may not want to put it on immediately. If somebody wants to close, say, in August, and you have to stay in your home till September, we need to know that up front, or even put it in the showing remarks or in the MLS sheet saying, listen, seller cannot move until then. However, if I got you an extra $20,000, would you maybe go ahead and move? So that's what you're trying to find out from them. What's the hot buttons? But you've got to ask a ton of questions and take your time with them.
Those are really great examples. When you are covering kind of the roles and expectation, but for what you kind of expect from them,
what I typically sell, what I tell oh, go ahead. I lost you.
I'm wondering what your process is. Wondering just what you did with those roll sheets. If you use them at all, like what does that sound like?
What I take the roll sheets as when I talk to the sellers, I explain to them how I like to work is that we are a team. So
Did I lose you?
every 3 to 4 days, it's not going to I be right down the still.
I think you might be in some spotty service, Mel. Not sure.
Guys, I had to stay at your house. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. Oh, nope. Now you're gone forever. Oh, now she's back.
Okay, now I'm back.
I love it.
Okay. Okay. All right. So I explained to them, I said, how I look at the roles is we are a team. We've got to be on the same page. So, let me know your expectation, an agent. So if they tell me, hey, I expect this house to be open, every weekend, I'm going to hit that objective right away because I'm not going to do that for you. Because now we have our listings open 24/7 on the internet. So you do have basically an open house all the time because you're also trying to control your time. And that's the idea of the listings. You can grow your income while you're not necessarily out showing buyers every day. So you're going to tell them too, an expectation they have of you is when someone comes to the house, or if you're down on the dock, this is notorious, do not give them information about your home. Have them call the agent. And that's twofold. One, if that house doesn't work for them, I want to be able to grab that buyer. Two, you don't want to put yourself in the middle as the seller because a lot of times you'll get emotional and you're going to tell them, oh my gosh, I really want to sell. Or you may tell them things about the house that are hot buttons that could turn them off. So let me do it as a professional. So that's part of the team. If somebody knocks on the door and they're not with an agent, call me. Don't let them in your home because I'm having a lot of that lately. Buyers are very pushy because they can't find the inventory. So I just tell them, don't let them in the house. Leave some extra cards for yourself at your listing, and then they can hand those out, but call me and we'll get an appointment because we don't know if they're real or not coming into the home. So those are just different objections we're having right now in our market.
That's really interesting about those buyers, Mel. Since you said that it's happening more frequently, when that does happen, I assume that you're converting those into buyers for yourself, or?
Correct. Either they'll buy the house or they could possibly buy something else. But what happens is maybe they don't have an agent yet and they're just out shopping, looking for signs. The buyers are more aggressive than I've seen in years. So you're missing the opportunity from all the advertising you're doing. So when they're knocking on the door, you miss that opportunity of talking to that buyer. So I let the sellers know up front, here's some extra cards I'm going to leave with you. Have them call me. And then I'll know if they're qualified. So I'll try to let them know there's people that are not qualified that are looking. We don't want to waste your time and have them in your home without an agent. So that's why you've hired me. Let me do my job.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you personally have a marketing plan of any kind, Mel? Do you kind of fit that into at that point where you talk about how you plan to market their property, or what that looks like now?
So we like our team.
What do you usually tell them?
Well, with our team, and anyone can look at it at any time, we have that marketing booklet already put into our listing conversation. So they'll know how we advertise it, how they're going to get touched every Monday morning from when you see the internet hits. We talk about how many showings on average you should have before an offer. So I hit that all up front. I think now it's down to 7. So I let them know, here's the deal, because pricing is not exact here. We don't have apples to apples here. However, what I do know is if we have more than 7 showings and no offers, that means something off. It's either location, condition, or price. And you'll know if you're in a nice home, it's not condition, but it could be an objection that, you know, we can't change. Say it has a steep driveway. Well, that's something that's never going to change. So maybe the home is beautiful. The driveway we know is going to be an objection. We may have to overcome that by price, because at the end of the day, everything can be overcome by price. So we've got to be on the same page. If I call you in 30 days and we've had a ton of showings and no offers, we need to agree now, because it's easier to get them to agree up front that we're going to have to do a price adjustment or get creative in some other form. So do we all agree to that? So I make them give me a ton of yeses from the very beginning. And they'll forget. So sometimes I have to write it down.
I love that. Mel, you were kind of talking, you were hitting on like topography and the steepness of driveways. I was just curious, with buyers right now being so picky and on it and ready to go, are they really affected by things like that right now in our market? Are you finding that they're just willing to pick up whatever whenever?
They still are concerned. When I am with the buyer, I always tell them, listen, it's an 80-20 rule. If we find today 80% of everything that clicks off your box, that's your property. There is never going to be a perfect property for anyone. It's very rare. You know, if it has a steep driveway, well, that's called an incurable. We can't change that. So it is what it is. But, you know, if it's paint, if it's carpet, well, we can change that. So if you're telling me the only thing you're objecting to is maybe the paint or the carpet, well, we found your house. We found the condo. Let's go. I mean, I'm pretty strong with people anymore because we're there, I believe, as agents to help them make a decision, not create more objections. You're trying to close them, but tell them after they're making the right decision, but you've got to be confident when you're doing that.
Yeah. I really like that 80-20 rule. That's a good thing to have in your back pocket. I want to kind of transition to, ending kind of that first appointment for you, talking to them about like your commission, explaining maybe the listing contract. Can you dive into that for me?
Before I go over the listing of the commission, I go over marketing, experience. If you're new, you don't have to go into your personal experience, but maybe that of the company. Lean more on those numbers to almost give before you get. So before I tell you I'm going to charge you 7%, I've got to figure out my value. So if you're going in right away and that's when you get an up call, what do you charge? I'm going to avoid that question because it's not a fair question until you see what services I offer. Did you get that?
Hey, I got a question for you, Mel. So
Yep.
I was at a listing appointment yesterday, and before we even got into anything, they were talking about how there are, what am I trying to say? Yeah, I've got buyers. My buddy's thinking about buying this place, and I've got this network back home. Before I even put it on the market, I want to tell them about it. What would your commission percentage be if I, brought the buyer before we even started marketing? That one hit me off guard. So what would you reply to that with?
Well, I've had that before. So basically what they're trying to do is use you for the pricing and your
Pricing
suggestions.
and they wanted me to do the transaction, talk with the lender and all that stuff, but just not do it at 6%.
If they bring the buyer and I haven't done a lot of marketing yet, I'll typically say that I'll do it for half. Or I try to get more. I mean, it kind of feels you out because what I explain to them, say, I'm gracious for that, but when we do our job, it's not just a meet and greet.
Right.
I'm not just writing the contract. There's so much that we do in the back end that probably our profession does a bad job of telling people everything that we do. If you go to an attorney and have them do this, they're going to charge you a lot more. So, typically I'll work with you some. If you brought them right now before I did a lot of marketing, I'd probably do half. But once I get involved into it more, I've got to cover all my marketing costs. And I normally tell them the minute I start, I'm already at $1,000. And maybe it's not hard cash, but yet you are facilitating and your time is worth something. So, we are commission based. No one's writing me a check tomorrow. So I've got to cover what my time is involved. If you have staff involved helping, pictures, Matterport, that all adds up. Even the lockbox I put on your door is $150. I've got to pay for all that. So I've got to cover those expenses. And once we get through inspections, we're negotiating again. And if it's a friend, it's even going to be harder for you because there's a personal connection. So, typically if it was at 7, I might try 5% first and then let them whittle you down, but go for the gold first.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I was, it was from 6 to 4. So I said, but that's,
you got something.
But yeah, I get something.
You did
but
good.
After I left, I was like, God, that was horrible. I should have said 5. But anyway, that's exactly what I was looking for. So thanks.
No, it is hard. And if I know the people really well too, that even makes it worse because I'm like, oh man, you guys have given me so much business, but I'm like, I know what my time's worth anymore. It's going to take a lot.
Yep. No, thank you.
I love that point about time too, because your time is worth something and you got to take care of it just like you take care of other aspects of your business. Treat it preciously. What do you do, Mel, when people are talking to other agents?
Yep. When they're talking to other agents?
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, I try to ask that before I get there. Are you, well, and I actually changed my line a little bit because Jeff used to tell me to encourage them to interview anymore. I'm not going to encourage you to talk to anyone else. I'll just ask, I'm just curious, are you, if I first talk to them on the phone, I might say, are you interviewing other agents? If they say no, say, oh, okay. But they'll say, should I? And I just tell them, I don't think it's necessary. Let's wait and see. If you're comfortable with me, we'll proceed. And if you're not, maybe go that route and I'll even refer you to somebody. How about that? because sometimes there's not a personality match. You know, there's some people I've met and I'm like, nope, not gonna list with you because they're gonna be a pain in the rear from the get-go.
That's a good answer.
Well,
What about, oh, go ahead.
well, the other thing I'll say too, you know, with listings, I'll just be like, I am so glad that you called Remax. Reason being, not to come across braggadocious, but we've got almost 40% market share. So I can assure you the numbers aren't going to lie. We're going to give you the very best service. Our agents are full-time here at our company. We have stats. We have unbelievable technology. So you are definitely going to be in good hands. So you made a really good choice by calling today. So thank you.
I'm really glad that you brought up the market information, Mel, because I meant to ask you in the part 1 of this class. I know it probably depends on the property type that you're going to, but what stats that we make do you feel like you use the most of in your packet?
In the packet, I kind of briefly go over some of those stats, but I've gotten stuck to where I do not like the price per square foot section of that, because price per square foot is so objective. If they have a huge dock, you are not worth the same as the other guy that only got 120. So when I explain that, I'm more so just trying to show that Remax dominates in every price point. You know, you'll learn a gut feeling if they're 200 to 400 or 400 to 600. But again, I'm just showing them that we dominate. I come back and say it all depends on pricing on the topo, the dock, the location. This is just a broad overview. The same with our stats that our board office presents. I'm more so showing you the market trend. Are we up or are we down? That's what I want you to focus on, not the price per square foot. But I always print off every time before I go the Remax stats out of Remax to where we show where we're number 1. If you pull only just Bagnell Dam side, that even shows better. But that is one that I'll lead with a lot too when they want to see numbers.
I love that. I like those stats too. And how do you've covered the roles and expectations and kind of handled objections. How do you slide that listing agreement in?
So what I'll ask them even, you know, do you guys, you know, do you feel this is a fit? Do you feel like you want to go comfortable? Because what I can do next is go over the listing contract to give you an idea of what that looks like. We're fortunate in the fact most of our buyers are second home buyers, so they know what a listing agreement looks like. One thing I'm going to change for myself is to go ahead and fill it out with the fee. Just have a blank one with 7 and then what transaction fee I want to charge. Because you can always cross it out if you have to negotiate or take down your transaction fee some, but then it's upfront in writing to them. So it's just like it's a standard form. But I'll go through that with them depending on their personality. Some will want to go line by line. Some could care less. They're like, where do I sign? Been there, done that. And I'll just laugh and say, you know, it's a 6 or 8 page document. It used to be 2 pages, but welcome to the attorney land. Now we have so much more, but I need to make sure I go over it with you.
How do you handle an objection about the transaction fee?
The transaction fee, how I personally do it is saying, hey, listen, I have never charged more in the last 23 years. This has been the fee I have. So I've never given myself a raise. So therefore, it is 7%. We are on a second market. It takes us more effort to bring a buyer than in a metro market. Our marketing times are typically longer. So, and it's always negotiable. I'm not going to tell you right now, commission's not negotiable because that would not be the truth. There's probably other agents that may do it for less. And frankly, they should. And I'll slow that down and say that sweet and smile, but I'll tell them, and frankly, they probably should because they're not going to give you as much marketing or have the expertise behind it. So it's kind of like if you go to your normal physician or you go to a specialist. I think you've got a large asset here. I think you'd rather go with a specialist than maybe just someone that's doing it part-time.
Love that. Can you think of anything else? I mean, we've kind of gone through all of the steps of the listing conversation. You had mentioned last time that you split yours up, you know, to where you make a second appointment to come back and talk about the pricing, which we'll get in, you know, in pricing class this upcoming Thursday. But do you set the appointment right there? Do you call them, you know, a couple days later and do it? Then how do you break your listing appointments up?
It all depends right now because the market's moving so fast. If I feel like it's going to be a killer thing and I want to get it out before the weekend that I feel the buyers are here, I'll hustle it more. I typically give myself at least 2 days, and I do that for 2 reasons. One, I want them to know, or at least think, you know, I could come back and do like a condo in probably an hour, but I don't want them to think I'm only taking an hour. I let them know, listen, I take pricing very serious. So it's going to take me a couple days to get back to you. But I'm going to break it down between actives, solds, pendings. I'm really going to study it for you. And what I've also done is started to email that to them. So then I don't necessarily have to meet them again in person. So I don't have to take their time up. But when I email it, I'll call them ahead of time and say, I'm going to send you this email. Let's go over it over the phone together. So that way I can break it down and show you where I'm coming from. So that way you can at least take your time back some. But other agents are going to give them a price on the spot. So then I try to use it against them. Because if you are competing, if they give you a price today, they're not really doing their homework or you any justice. I don't want to do a disservice to you. I want to go back and study it. You know, if you're comfortable and all we have to figure out the prices, we can go ahead and do the listing and then decide the price here, you know, in a day or two. But when you get busier, you've got appointments maybe booked the next morning at 8 o'clock. I don't necessarily want to work till 9 o'clock. So that way I can give myself 2 days to get back to them. But I try to make sure I know they're going with me before depending on how far I'm going to hustle or how long I'm going to take my time.
One last, Taylor, if
lost.
she has any questions, but what the newer agents that I've been working with keep asking me how they handle an objection about technology, mainly about like Zillow and Trulia, when sellers are kind of doing their own pricing online. How are you overcoming some of that and explaining how that is not the route to go?
What I explained to them is Zillow is not the same. You know, Zillow and Trulia are about the same things. It's not like a metro market. And we're a non-disclosure county, which most people don't understand. We're a non-disclosure county. So your sales prices are not accurate whatsoever. And we actually don't want agents to put into Zillow what things have sold for, because you're going to start seeing our taxes go up. So it's best that we keep that information to ourselves and in our MLS system. So Zillow for us in our area is actually a disservice. Now the consumer likes it because it's easy to search, but it's getting worse because they can't keep up with the trends of what's active or sold or pending. Like I can pull up some Zillows today that aren't even on the market anymore. They've sold 3 months ago. So if you're trying to use that as a pricing, you might be doing yourself an injustice alone by that because it's not accurate. So we don't want to go over that. Zestimates are off. They're off all over the country. We want to go back and look at the hard facts before we make a decision on your pricing. Am I dead? I think you froze.
Might be important to the listing.
Oh, I lost you.
I was just saying, do you have any other things that you've run into lately that you feel like is really important for this class?
I can tell you the competition is hard. You have to be completely on your game. And what I have found is you have to hustle. If they want to meet with you tomorrow, they're probably going to make a decision tomorrow. So try to make yourself available. I like to control my time, but that is not the case at the moment. It's moving so quickly that you are bombarded. But how I look at it is this market won't always be like this market. So it might be a little painful right now, but you're just going to have to, if you want to eat right now, you're just going to have to work at it because people are not waiting for you. You know, if they call you and they want to see property that afternoon and you are available, you just kind of don't feel like it, you better start feeling like it because they're coming. And we had one instance for us where the buyers called, we couldn't get to them immediately. They came down anyhow and they found somebody else available. So it's where you've got to get creative. And if you are booked and you have that buyer, I would refer them to another agent at the company. At least try to get a referral out of it. They called you for a reason, but try to use the resources. I mean, there's 100 of us. So don't lose out on, you know, the at bat if you don't have to, but you're going to have to move.
Yeah, I love that idea about, you know, reaching out to other people in the company if you can't get to them. That's a great idea.
Well, and I think too, one thing we should keep in mind, I don't know if we do the best of it here, but when you even have a listing that you're burnt out on, you can't get it sold, refer them to another RE/MAX agent here at this company. Try to keep it where you can earn something from it. You know, if you're burnt out on them, they're burnt out on you. Say, you know what? Maybe we just need to try a different set of eyes on this. Let me refer you to this agent. They work this market as well, but you know, let's get a fresh perspective of it. Not that you still can't call me. I could still be involved and help you, but let them take a roll at it. Instead of going to, you know, Keller Williams or EXP or something, keep them in-house here.
I love that idea about getting fresh eyes, like turning it around that way. That's a cool way to ask it or get
well,
it
and
off.
Well, I think sometimes too, our pride gets in the way. So another thing is if you've got a listing and you're having trouble with it, you're like, man, am I off on pricing? Does anybody else have ideas? We should all be encouraged to call each other, call a couple agents and say, hey, can I take you to coffee? Then would you run through my listing? Let me know what your thoughts on it. So then you don't even have to give it away, but everyone here is willing to help. So reach out and just say, let me try to get a few agents through and get their perspective. And then I'll share that with you. Because then if you know it needs a price reduction, I can get 3 other people to come in and tell me, look, these guys are great agents. They're saying this, this, and this. I think we should listen to them. So it's not always you being the bad cop.
Right. How great our company is in general, being able to work together like that and get different perspectives from different agents.
I had another
on
one.
Their property. I mean, not any other company.
Yes. You know, and sellers are tough. Once you get that listing, another thing I've had to have a heart-to-heart with people, when agents put, you know, price right, but say you've had 15 showings, I have to tell people anymore, they're just trying to be nice to you. And some objectives is they want that listing down the road because they know you're overpriced. So that's why they're leaving their cards over and over in your house. So when you get tired of me, you're going to go over to them. But I'm the one with all the marketing efforts in it so far. So if you're going to make a change and you're going to reduce that price, let's do it now. Let's not wait a month or 2 for you to change that price, because that's what it is. It's going to sell. And then, you know, I don't want to not be part of this, you know, transaction because we've been together so long. So I'll try to use that too. So the feedback is more of a generality. It's not an exact science. So if they say the price is right and we have no offers, it's not. And I'll tell that in the listing conversation now to them as well.
Mm-hmm. And what other showing things do you go over in that listing conversation? Or is that just it?
I'm more so, my first objective is to get them to agree to list with me. And then I want to make sure they're going to sign before I knock their property whatsoever. I'm not going to give you a ton of ideas anymore or a ton of suggestions, maybe a few, but that's it. What I let them know is when, you know, you agree to work with me and you see what I'm offering you is value, that's when we're going to go to work. You know, whether that be I bring in a stager, I bring in other suggestions, different things we need to do. But that takes a lot of time. So again, time is money to me as well because I'm commission based. So let's try to figure out, you know, if it's a win-win, if you like what I've got so far and we move forward, then I'll dive into that. because I've been burnt on that.
Yeah, I can imagine how that would be burning, giving all your cues away ahead of time.
Yes.
Well, Kayla, do you have anything right now? I mean, on your listing plate that you need anything for?
I don't think so. I normally have Mel go with me to my listings when I need her.
But I overtalk. I take over too much. So.
No, I love that though. It's how we're learning. I mean, you have all that experience and you rock listings. So I appreciate all of the ideas and feedback in this class.
I think listings are fun. I mean, you can control your income more. And, you know, years ago when I was scared of them, I would write myself a pretend check and look at it. And then I paid attention more to it because I'm like, oh, you ding dong, if you screw it up, you're not going to get that money. So you better do the very best that you can and feel confident when you go in there.
For sure. I would hate to like have to rip up all those fake checks.
You remember them. You start to remember. What else can I tell you? I always do leave the seller's disclosures with them. So that's one of my gives. I always have those pre-printed to hand to them.
Is that
because
like
I'm like,
something that you do for homework?
Yep, that's your homework. And one of the reasons I'll say, you know, too, if this doesn't work out, you're not wasting your time. This is a form that everyone in our association uses. So you're going to have to do it now or later. So, you know, I'd rather give it now because it takes a lot of time. And I joke with them. Like I even say, you know, if you fill out on your seller's disclosure on the first page, because they'll start to look at it, the first page. I'm like, if you mark that you have meth in your house or you're on a landfill, I'm probably not your gal, just to forewarn you guys. So I'll try to add a joke in there too, because it's kind of overwhelming. And just let them know, if you don't know the questions or the answers to them, just call me on it, because some of them are difficult, you know, and if you don't know, put unknown. But if you have something wrong that's ever happened to the house, I want you to disclose. We hide nothing. And that's the same thing as a team. Tell me, you know, what your fears are, what your goals are, you know, any concerns. I ask that a lot. I'll be like, do you have any questions, any concerns? And then I just don't talk, because sometimes they're thinking, so you don't want to rush them.
Mel, all I heard was don't talk. So you don't rush them. Could you repeat that? Sorry.
No, that's okay. So a lot of times during the listing conversation, I ask them, I'll say, you know, listen, sometimes I go too fast and I want to make sure that you understand everything that we're going over. So at any time you have questions or concerns, please stop me or ask me. And then when I go over certain parts, I'll pause. And then I just don't say anything because they're thinking. And I think as salespeople, we rush people and we want an answer. But sometimes if you just step back or even excuse yourself, like, oh, do you mind if I use your restroom? Or, oh, I would take you up on that glass of water now. That would be wonderful. Let them think a little bit. So then they can process the information, because it's a lot to take in at one time.
One thing that I just thought about, Mel, I'm glad that you brought up taking your time and having patience, slowing down that process. What kind of things are you picking up on with different personalities going into a listing conversation? I mean, how is your brain like within yourself when you're in front of new people like that, just kind of picking up those social cues, or how you're learning to interact with different personalities there?
I'll look to see who's nervous and fidgety. You know, if it's that one, I might lean in closer to that. Say it's a spouse and the wife is a little jumpy. I might even lean over to her more. Like right now, we can't touch anybody basically, but I'll even kind of reach across the table and maybe touch their arm or something, just to like rest assured you're going to be okay. And I try to remind myself, like if you're in a doctor's office and you're nervous or anxious, a good doctor will normally touch you somehow, like on the leg or the arm. They'll kind of pat you. So it's almost that reassurance of nurturing that we're going to make it. It's okay. Just tell me what you're looking for. Tell me what you need. And I'm going to try to do the best I can to help you. Because that's also what I do. I'm here to help you, not hurt you, not take advantage of you. I want to do the very best for you. And I'll tell them my goal at the end of all of this is I want to be on your Christmas card list. I want you to refer your friends and family to me. So I want to do the very best. So we've got to talk together and share. So that way you are satisfied and you're a raving fan down the road. That's my goal.
I love that. I love the Christmas card comment too. That's cute.
Well, I always try to throw some humor in it anymore because it's so serious. And right now some people are very stressed just from the outside media crap they're getting thrown at them all the time. So it's got to be enjoyable and somewhat fun because selling your house is not always fun, especially if you're full time. So it can be stressful. You know, you're going to get that 5-minute phone call to where they want to see your house. It's your decision to let them in your home or not. You know, if you can be somewhat ready at all times, that's going to be your best bet. So if you're full time, I'll go over things like if you've got kids, throw it under the bed. Throw their toys under the bed. They don't look under the bed, but they're going to open your closet door. And if all those things fall out, you're in trouble. You might even throw your dirty dishes into the oven if your dishwasher's full. Just hide it because they normally won't always look in an oven either. So just little tidbits like that, they'll understand.
I like that. One thing that I personally have never understood, maybe you could shed some light on it for me, was taking all of your like personal pictures down.
So I will talk to them about personal pictures and say, you know what, you have a beautiful family, but here's what happens with the buyer. They will try to figure out who you are. People are curious by nature. They want to know, is there a divorce? Is somebody sick? Is somebody, aging to where they can't use the lake anymore? So, and I want them to picture themselves in your home, not you anymore. We're selling. So we have to disconnect from the house. So we want to make it as neutral as we can, but let's take many pictures because otherwise they stare at them and they forget to look at all the amazing features your property has. So it's not meant to insult or anything like that. But if we're selling, we need to let the new family create memories here. And they have to envision that, not look at your wedding photos and the new baby photos.
Mm-hmm. I love that. No, that's great. Makes a lot more sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Can you think of anything else, Mel? What about anything with COVID right now? Are people asking you to wear masks at all? Are you maintaining the distance? How's that going?
I just look at COVID of asking each person, what are you comfortable with? I'm a very comfortable person with this. Frankly, I'm over it. But I don't tell them all of that. I just ask them, how are you comfortable? Do you need me to wear a mask? Do you want to wear a mask? Some homes we may have to wear a mask, some we may not. So, we're just trying to respect everyone's decision and it's their property. So if they ask that, we're going to follow that rule. Right now, if they want to ride with you and you are comfortable with it, that's fine. I think we all just need to have to where we're open and not judgmental of anybody. Everyone's got to do what they got to do right now. But I had people yesterday. I just said, listen, what are you comfortable with? There was 4 of them. And in this case, I used COVID for my own deal. I wanted to make phone calls in between the showings because it was Monday and it was a crazy weekend. So I just said, well, due to COVID right now, I'm going to have you follow me. Well, I could have put them in the car. I just wanted to make my phone calls. So I used that to my advantage. So that's what I did. In all honesty, it's what I did. Did I lose ya? Oh, it locked up.
Yeah, I was just saying that's a great idea to use it if you need to. That's a cool idea.
And I don't tell them, and I think too, it's a big purchase. They don't want to feel uncomfortable. So if they see we're uneasy, you're already starting on a little bit rocky ground. And it's not like you have to hug people or do anything like that. You know, keep your hand sanitizer in your car. And I just use it more often now. So.
That's great. Well, do you have anything else? We're about out of time. I think we covered all of the 5 stages. I got some similar action items too. Kayla, I know that you've been working on some of these, you know, in between classes, just developing, getting stronger. You guys can do that too. Those of you who are listening on YouTube, be sure to, you know, be practicing things, getting that listing game stronger. But if you have any questions, feel free to hit us up all the time. Mel, I think it'd be awesome to do a like a pretend mock listing conversation one time during this class. Just have like.
So you like can interview me? Well, what you're all gonna see is I have a lot of fun. No, we could do that. We could record it and play with it.
Yeah, or I was thinking about like our newer agents flipping it around on you and you be the client and they be in your seat.
Yeah, I'd be open to doing that. Can we drink wine?
Yes.
Okay.
That'd be more fun.
Nope, anytime. Well, if anybody has any questions, they want to email me direct, I'm happy
Well, I
to
sure
help.
appreciate you guys. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you.
Appreciate you guys. Sorry about the technical difficulties.